Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Patriots Pulse podcast. I'm here with Andrew once again. We're excited. This is our first time doing a live on game day. Obviously, we have prime time tonight, Thursday night football, so we're excited. We hope that we can talk to a lot of you today in the comments. But yeah, let's get right into it. Andrew, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. I think this is like the first season in the past. I'll say maybe 2 years that I'm excited for Patriots football. That I think it's going to be competitive each game. It's not just like, oh, they're walking into it and they're probably going to lose. Like this is the first time in a while that I'm like, this is hopefully going to be a very close competitive game.
Yeah, I feel like I forgot what it felt like winning a game. That
Yeah,
week one game that was awesome.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah, we got some stuff to go over today. We got a week two thoughts and recap video, um, or video segment, and then we're gonna go over the Thursday night football inactives. Just preview it, and just give you all our thoughts and predictions. So we're going to start off with the week two thoughts and recaps. Um, Carlos, what what did you take away from uh, their loss against the Seahawks?
I kind of alluded to it earlier on, like with the intro. I think they've kind of proved that they can hang with most teams. I know they haven't played like a top team. Like next week, for example, I don't want to jump ahead already, but like next week at the Niners, that's like a top team in the league, in my opinion. So um, at least we know that they can hang with teams that are maybe average or above average, however you want to quantify the Bengals and Seahawks. But yeah, I just it showed that they're competitive, that they know how to stay in games. Like they didn't have a pretty game yet last week against the Seahawks, but they only lost by 3 points, and it took overtime for them to lose. So I really I'm believing more and more. I'll believe more when the passing game starts to become a factor. But yeah, they show that they're competitive. They can hang with most teams.
Yeah, I've been surprised by how they've been able to hang in these games. Week one, that was a great coaching job by Gerard Mayo, they've really been able to do it by their ground game. You know, Rondre Stevenson
Mhm.
has had a really good start to the year. He's, I think, fifth in the league in total rushing yards so far. Antonio Gibson had a really good week too. He had some explosive plays. And their defense has really kept them in these games. They're going to have to rely on their defense to really keep the opposing offense off the field. And they're also going to have to rely on their run game and slow, methodical drives to keep other teams' offenses off the field.
Mhm. I
But
completely agree.
with that, what do you think they need to improve on the offensive side of the football?
So as I mentioned, I think the passing game, getting the receivers involved. I was honestly very frustrated after their loss and seeing the stat sheet and just seeing that they had 3 receptions for 19 yards for the wide receivers. Like that's um there we go. Everything fixed? I feel like I was frozen.
Oh,
No.
yeah, no, you're good.
All right. So as I was saying, yeah, I think just the fact that their wide receivers weren't involved at all. Um, Demario Douglas spoke about it after or at during the practice, and he pretty much said like, you know, he's he's not being involved, and he feels like he hasn't done as much as he did last season. I know it's early on, but he's clearly your best wide receiver at this very moment. So just him not being involved, that that makes no sense. He was tearing it up during training camp, during the off season. So the fact that he isn't able to do what he can do, even just like setting up plays for him, I think this is somewhat on Alex Van Pelt. Just setting up like a screen pass for him or like a bubble screen or something, just something to get the ball in his hands and for him to try to do something. Um, I think that's like the biggest thing. And I know Jalen Polk caught his first touchdown. That was great, but seeing someone like him get even more involved. So hopefully Jacoby Brissett really took what they said to heart, whatever they spoke about during their short little break in between games. Hopefully something's gonna click tonight, but I do think that the passing game was the one thing that like was the big negative.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, um, people can say what they want about the receiver room, but it's revamped. They got some explosive talent, and especially Demario Douglas, he can create so much opportunity. He has the ability to create a lot of opportunity after the catch. So, like you said, just dialing up a screen pass for him um, could be really beneficial. I think they gotta resort more to the quick passing game tonight because I think Jacoby Brissett has held the ball for long periods of time, and he's gonna have to have quicker options to get the ball out in time, and just so the offensive line doesn't. Um, it's less time for them to have to block, and they lose assignments. But on the
Yeah,
defensive side of the football, um, I do think that they need to get more consistent pressure through the pass rush. I mean, they've had like Keon White stand out so far this year, but they were doing great week one, but it kind of took a step back week two. And one thing that Geno Smith did so well week two was when the Patriots blitzed, he um, he would adjust accordingly and he'd hit a guy in the flat, and he did that so many times, and the Patriots defense just couldn't adjust accordingly. They really struggled with that, and Geno Smith played a hell of a game. But I also think back a little bit on the defense, the defensive backs. I think they need to play a cleaner game. They had two crucial calls that really hurt them in the end, and also the miscommunication between Christian Gonzalez and Kyle Duggar. I mean, that's uncharacteristic from what we've seen from Patriots defenses throughout the years. And I think that they're going to have to play a cleaner game.
yeah, definitely like that game was as like defensively. It felt like a Seahawks receiver was open like on every single time Geno Smith dropped. He had someone open. Um, I know some people have been saying like Marcus Jones had somewhat of a good game. Um, Christian Gonzalez, based off the next gen stats, he had a really good game. But those yards, all those yards that they gave up to DK to JSN, like they were as a result of somebody's mistake. So as good as a game that individuals could have had, they still lost. They still gave up over 200 yards to two receivers combined. That's not a winning formula. You can't
Mhm.
win like that every single game or every single week in the NFL, especially. So that's something they definitely need to clean up. But yeah, I would say the defense they had to take some of the blame for that loss too.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on, we're going to go over the Thursday night inactive lists. Both the Patriots and the Jets came out with theirs not too long ago. So I can't pull it up, but I'm just going to read off the list. So Juwan Bentley, he's inactive. I think Ian Rappaport said that he was out for the entire season with a torn pec. That's the same injury Matthew Judon had last year that he was out for the whole season with. But they elevated Joe Giles Harris from the practice squad to add some more depth there. But this is a really crucial hit to the Patriots defense. I mean, he was the one with the green dot, so I think Kyle Duggar uh, will wear the green dot, but I think Jelani Tavai is going to have to step up and kind of imitate Bentley's impact.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually not to correct you, but Judon tore his bicep last season,
Oh, okay.
not his pec. But same thing, like it's one of those injuries that you tear that muscle. There's a chance you can come back later on in the year, especially because it happens so early. But more than likely, players don't come back from it for that season. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, according to Jeremy Fowler, he was supposed to come back today. So that was a clearly different report. But yeah, I'm gonna take rap sheets word on this. I think that's a big blow. Like you said, the green dot. I think that matters a lot. They're gonna have Kyle Duggar wear that now, more than likely. He's always taken that responsibility whenever Juwan Bentley hasn't been on the field. So we'll see how that goes. They had some small like miscommunications with Kyle Duggar wearing the green dot. So we'll see how he can adjust to it. Maybe this short week of practice, maybe he prepared himself a little bit, but yeah, Juwan Bentley is going to be a big. Uh, it's gonna it's a big blow to the defense because especially in the run game too. So we'll see how they manage without that. Raekwon McMillan has to step up. They have Sione Takitaki on PUP, so hopefully he's going to come back soon. Hopefully it's right after that 4 week period that he has to um, miss no matter what. So hopefully they get him back week 5. But like today, they called up Joe Giles Harris from the practice squad, so they're trying to get some depth at that linebacker position. They have Curtis Jacobs there too, who was one of their waiver claims, but I think he's more of a special teams guy. So they're kind of thin at that spot. They need someone like Raekwon McMillan to step up, or when Sione Takitaki comes back, um, they need guys to really step up and provide that depth. But just going back to the inactive list, the one that really stood out to me, because nothing really stood out other than the Marco Wilson inactive. He's had a rough 2 weeks to start the season. I honestly get frustrated when I see him out there because I feel like Alex Austin has shown more in his small sample size compared to Marco Wilson's sample size. So I'm assuming Marco Wilson's gonna or Alex Austin's gonna take Marco Wilson's reps and fill in his role tonight. We'll see how that goes, but yeah, that was the one that stood out to me.
Yeah, I completely agree with it standing out. Marco Wilson, like you said, has had a rough start to the year. He had that flag go against him week 2. So going down the list, Joe Milton, he's inactive. Jamri Chroma, he's inactive. City So is still inactive, battling that ankle injury. But also Darian Lowe, who filled in for Chukwuesekor for week 1 and started week 2 at the left tackle position. He is also inactive tonight. So I think that kind of opens the gate for Caden Wallace to come in at left tackle. So with that, you have Caden Wallace at left tackle, Michael Jordan at left guard, David Andrews center, Layden Robinson at right guard, and Michael Munyu at right tackle. How do you think that unit is going to perform with Wallace on the left side?
Um, Obviously, I'm not gonna have my hopes up just because the starters, like people that have been starting over him, like Vidarian Lochooks, they didn't hold up well. So the fact that they didn't want to play Caden Wallace so early on. I don't know if that's because he's a rookie and they want him to learn more, or if it's just because he hasn't shown enough or shown more than the guys that were above him on the depth chart. Um, Regardless of whatever the case may be, I'm really excited to see Caden Wallace out there. I know like there's a big difference between the first round number 3 overall pick and Drake May, like letting him soak up knowledge, sit on the bench, just develop. I know there's a big difference between that and a 3rd round right tackle that can transition to left tackle, or they're hoping he can. Um, but I still have like a genuine level of excitement to see our potential left tackle of the future starting tonight. Hopefully, I don't eat my words and he just has like a horrible game and he gets pulled or something. Like, I really don't want that to happen. But if he can show some flashes and show that he can be like a figure on that, on that offensive line for years to come, that's that. And honestly, this sounds bad, but even if they lose tonight, but if Caden Wallace has like a shutout game, like he's stout on that left side of the line, I'll be somewhat happy. Obviously, not entirely happy, but that's a very important piece of the puzzle for their future. So I'm excited to see how he can do. We'll see. One thing that obviously isn't that huge of a deal, but I'm kind of interested to see what they do. He was being used as the jumbo tight end, or as Scott Peters called him, the muscle tight end. I'm interested to see if they put Trey Jacobs in that role now. He's been inactive. I don't know if he was inactive last week. I'm not too sure about that. I think he
I'm
was.
not sure.
But I'm just interested to see who they put in at that jumbo tight end spot. Whether it's Trey Jacobs or Zach Thomas, 2 guys that they picked up off of waivers and they haven't um, done much, I guess you could say, since they've been here. So we'll see how that goes because, like I said, Caden Wallace was that guy. He was doing pretty well in that role too. And they've been using that 6 lineman personnel a lot, especially with their struggles in protection and in the run game, trying to get more push with that. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, as far as like Caden Wallace, I'm really excited to see him play.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see him more than just a What'd you say?
Just especially at left tackle. Obviously, if he was playing right tackle, I'd be excited too. But the fact that we could get our left tackle of the future and see how he plays, like truly, truly plays at left tackle in a real game situation, I'm excited to see.
Yeah, and I'm excited because he played opposite of Olufashon. Did I? Is it? Am I? I keep
Fashanu,
mixing
Fashanu,
these two guys up from the last draft. The Penn State left tackle won the first round, but
Olufashanu, yeah.
he was playing right tackle, and yeah, and Elliot Wolf after they picked Ken Wallace said that they were going to play him as a left tackle. They've went through so many different offensive line combinations throughout the summer, and finally we're going to get to see Ken Wallace at left tackle. Very excited for that.
Mhm.
Um, but so, what are some key positional matchups that you're looking out for?
The main one that's going to be the marquee matchup is definitely going to be Garrett Wilson against Christian Gonzalez. Um, Last time they played, Christian Gonzalez shut him down essentially. A lot of Jets fans' excuses, and honestly, Patriots fans that just love to hate. A lot of their excuses were that he didn't have a competent quarterback. He didn't have Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. All this and that. That's why he didn't get the ball. I'm really excited to see how he matches up with him. One of the gripes I've honestly had with the Patriots' defensive play calling is that DeMarcus Covington does have Gonzo shadowing more often than not. He does have him shadowing the number one receiver on the opposite team, but he doesn't have him playing like man to man, just on an island, just him by himself with that top receiver. Like if you see these metrics that he's like last week, DK Metcalf had such a big game, but Next Gen Stats tells you that he was only guarding him for, or he only had him for 7 targets and he allowed 3 catches for 24 yards. Like if that's the case, if he's doing that well on him, why not put him on an island constantly instead of like trying to get cute, do different things with the defense, have him shadow, but then drop into coverage and guard somebody else? Like just leave him on the number one receiver, let him do his thing. We'll see how it goes. If he's not able to handle it, then we know he can't handle it, you know. Give him a chance to prove that. But yeah, I think that's going to be the main matchup that I'm going to be looking out for.
Um, I am mostly looking at Ramondre Stevenson just against the Jets secondary on outside runs. I mean, um, the Patriots offense has done a really good job blocking in the interior for Ramondre Stevenson. But the minute they break out, him and Gibson break out, they're going to be one-on-one with corners. Jets. They have their corners. They don't tackle too well. They got some really lightweight corners, so I looking to see any potential one-on-one moments against those guys and see if either Stevenson or Gibson can break away for a long run.
Mhm.
But moving on to the Patriots will beat the Jets if. What do you think?
So it's tough not to go off on like a random tangent and change topics really quick, but just going off of what you said about their corners, I feel like the Jets are very well set up to attack the quarterback on passing downs and just like disrupt the passing game, shut down their wide receivers, and get to the quarterback. And the Patriots aren't that type of team, obviously. Like they have Sauce Gardner. Who is he going to guard realistically? Like they don't have that number one receiver. Maybe it comes in handy this time around for the Patriots that they don't have a number one wide receiver. Um, but they have like DJ Reed, Michael Carter. Like their secondary is very good, especially their cornerbacks. So I do agree with you though about their tackling. They have light corners, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, just like the Patriots running the ball and being like a run dominant team. You saw what Jordan Mason did to this defense, and that's Jordan Mason. You know, like not saying he's bad, but like that was his first game of the season or second game. If I no, his first game of the season. Like that was his first real NFL start, and you saw what he did to their defense. So Tony Pollard had some good plays against them last week, and Ramondre I genuinely think is better than both of those running backs. So I know the offensive line comes into question in that case, but the Jets' run defense isn't that great, and they're missing C.J. Mosley as well. So he's their best run defender as far as their linebacker core. Um, we'll see how that goes. But with that being said, I think the Patriots will beat the Jets if I'm gonna kind of take a cop out answer, but if Ramondre can get over 100 yards on the ground. I know that's like a very specific thing, but I genuinely think that if he is able to get that 100 yard or hit that 100 yard mark, that just shows that they were able to dominate in a certain aspect of the game, like especially on the offensive side, and that would allow them to open up other opportunities. We'll see what those opportunities are. We'll see if they even implement the passing game a lot today. But I do think that if a win really rides on Ramondre's ability to run the ball today.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if they can, they're gonna have to win on the ground. It's kind of what's gonna have to be said for the every other game this season, unless they just prove randomly one night that they're a really capable passing offense. But
Mhm.
if they can win on the ground, I think they have a really good shot. I mean, Stevenson and Gibson both have are both able to have really productive nights. And like you mentioned, the Jets O line, or not O line, but the Jets D line hasn't been really stable or reliable recently. They've had some really rough nights or rough games. But I think they really need to win on those crucial, like third and short moments, like
Mhm.
when in overtime when they couldn't get that 1 yard on the Seahawks. I think keeping the drives alive on those moments is what's gonna win the game for them. And also, kind of extended from the run game is you win the time of possession matchup. You got to keep the Jets offense off the field, and it's no better way to do that than win the ground game.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, because I think the Jets defense is one of the best in the league. Maybe not top 5, top 3, but they are definitely one of the best defenses in the league. Um, the thing that like what I kind of said earlier, they have a very good pass rush, but teams that have a very good pass rush doesn't mean that they have a good run defense.
Mm.
So I think that's where their weak spot is at. Um, so the Patriots definitely need to take advantage of that. I know their offensive line might not be able to get the push that they need, but someone like Caden Wallace, for example, he hasn't been that consistent in pass blocking, but run blocking he's been doing really well. So that could definitely be be an upgrade, I guess you could say, just because I don't Vidarian Lowe is Vidarian Lowe. Like I'm not gonna hate on the guy, but I personally just what I've seen. This is just based off like eye test, I guess you could say. I think that Caden Wallace is a better run blocker than him. So that also gives them the opportunity to run to the left side more consistently as well. The one thing that worries me though is Quinnen Williams. Um, they're gonna put him over like whatever side of the line they put him over, whether they put him on the rookie Layden Robinson or they put him on Michael Jordan, who's been on and off teams practice squads. I I don't know who's gonna stop him essentially, but that's definitely someone that can change the game, and they could scheme him up to just be an absolute havoc on the defensive line for the Patriots offensive line.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy you really got to look out for. Like you said, he can really change a game and swing things. But I mean, he's one of those guys that kind of just picks and chooses where he wants to rush from, interior, on the edge,
Mhm.
and he just he picks who he thinks he can get by, and he does it quite often. He's a really great player, but so they're gonna really have to worry about him. But I think they
Mhm.
also really need to get the wide receivers engaged, like you were talking about earlier. I think they really have to implement more quick passing plays. This goes back to what we were saying, but they need to get Pop Douglas the ball and scheme things open for him. The pass protection can't really hold up. I mean, Jacoby Brissett's on the ball for long periods of time, and I think the quick game would just really help them
Mhm.
really start to establish drives and continue pushing down the field with the run offense. So we'll see how they do there. But I also think it's really important on the defensive end to really contain Brees Hall, not only rushing the ball, which I think they're going to do a fine job of just because the run defense has been so great. And I think Tavai is going to fill in quite nicely for Bentley. But
Mhm.
Yeah, I think they really have to focus on him in the passing game as well. Aaron Rodgers sends Hall out on a lot of empty backfield plays, and that's where the Jets really thrive. So I think they're going to have to put an emphasis on that.
Yeah, like I I know I've been harping only on the offense, what they can do, but you bring up a good point with the defense. Like Aaron Rodgers has been getting the ball out in 2.26 seconds on average. Um, that's extremely fast. You can tell that he doesn't want to hold the ball. Um, if you can get your hands on him, even and the thing that sucks is that the Patriots pass rush has not been good. You brought it up earlier. Keon White has been their only like main or consistent threat on that defensive line. If you can get Keon White a clean hit on Aaron Rodgers or just pressure him constantly,
Mm,
I know Aaron Rodgers is a vet. He's seen it all throughout his time in the league. But if you have someone like Keon White, like essentially scaring him, someone that's just recovering from an Achilles, a 40-year-old quarterback that he's only in his third game since that Achilles injury. Um, I think that could really impact the game. That could definitely change the way he handles pressure, what he's going to do pre-snap, maybe change their entire offensive game plan. Who knows? But I think that's going to be a very big challenge, I guess you could say, for the Patriots defense, just because of how fast he throws the ball.
mm,
Um, I don't know if you remember when they played the Packers. I believe it was like 2 years ago. It was when Jack Jones got that pick six on him. Um, I remember at the very end of the game, it was a really close game. Aaron Rodgers would literally just look out to the receivers before the play, like pre-snap. He would just look out to see if the cornerbacks were giving him them cushion. For some reason, the Patriots kept lining up off off the line and giving them 10 yards of cushion instead of playing press man. They would snap the ball and he would just throw it and they would get like 5 yards, and that's how they moved down the field.
mm,
He's gonna do that. If they give him cushion, if they give the receivers cushion, I guarantee you're going to see him look at them pre-snap and immediately throw the ball to them. Like it's an easy way to move down the field. Like the cornerbacks don't have enough time to react to that. So I do think that this is one of those games that they need to rely on their corners. They need to play press man. They have to let them get up in their face, disrupt Rodgers' timing. Like I said, if he's getting the ball in 2.26 seconds, that means the receivers need to, beat the Patriots corner right off the line, off of press in a very short amount of time. If you can make him hold the ball, extend plays, I don't know how successful the Jets offense will be. So the cornerbacks are going to essentially have to help the Patriots pass rush because they need to play those guys down the field, lock them up, so the pass rush can get there, disrupt Rodgers' timing, that whole flow of everything. Because the Jets' offensive line they're decent. Like I'm not saying they're bad, but
mm.
obviously their numbers are going to look better if Rodgers is getting the ball out faster and not giving opposing defenses the opportunity to get to him to be a threat in the pass rush. So I think it's going to be a big game of like chess today. We'll see how the coordinators from opposing sides, handle each other.
Yeah, I mean, I think this might be Demarcus Covington's biggest test so far as a defensive
Mhm,
coordinator. But I'm gonna do a little quick change into the next segment, just because you were talking about putting pressure on Aaron Rodgers and just not giving too much cushion on the receivers. I'm going to start for game predictions. I'm going to start with my defensive MVP, and that's going to be Christian Gonzalez, who I think is going to be primarily matched up against Garrett Wilson tonight. The defense as a whole has done a really good job at shutting down the run. Um, but they will have to worry about Hall in the passing game, like I mentioned. Um, but the Jets' number one option for the first read has been Garrett Wilson so far this season, and I think Gonzo will have to do a good job of disrupting Wilson. So
mhm.
just taking away their first read and making sure it's not there. I think Gonzo's going to have to do a really good job of that, and I think he will do a good job of that tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I know like that's what I said. At least my key matchup is going to be. So I completely agree. Gonzo's a lot's going to be on his shoulders today, so we'll see how he does. Um, just to be consistent with what I've been saying, though, I'm going to go with Devon Godshaw. stopping Brees Hall and Braylon Allen. Like we haven't spoken about Braylon Allen, but he had a very good game last week. He's been a threat in the passing game as well. So we'll see how they can contain both of those running backs. But with that being said, I think Godshaw is going to be a very important piece of the game today, just because they need to stop the run in order to what I, if for everything that I said earlier, as far as like getting to the quarterback, putting the pressure on, letting the cornerbacks, play man, holding the wide receivers in check, essentially. I think the only way that can truly happen is if they show them like, hey, you cannot run the ball on us. Like we're not going to allow more than 2 yards a carry, 3 yards a carry. Um, and I think that starts with Godshaw. I really hope they can stop the run because that's going to matter a lot, and not to kind of steer away from the most valuable defensive player or most valuable player on the team, but I think, and I don't want to pick two, but I am. Keon White's going to be a very big factor too. He's racked up sacks to start the season, but the thing with him is that they've usually come towards the end of plays when they're extended, like when quarterbacks are trying to run for the first down or run back to the line of scrimmage. Excuse me. That's when he kind of just dives or grabs them by the ankle or something. I want him to get pressure like quick. So we'll see how that goes. But those two guys, and I essentially I'm choosing the whole defensive line as the MVP. I'll just do that. I know that's like a cop out answer, but I think they're going to be one of the main reasons why they could win the game today.
Yeah, I completely agree. Moving on to, I'm gonna. Do you want to start with your offensive MVP? Just because I started with defense.
Yeah, I'll take mine. I would say my offense MVP. I know I said Ramondre earlier, like him getting over 100 yards. But if I'm locking that in, if I'm saying that that's the only way they're truly going to have a chance to win, I'm going to go with Pop Douglas. I think that his comments maybe are going to force the Patriots' hand and giving him the ball, scheming things up for him. But I could totally see him getting like 5 catches, 50 yards, but a touchdown today, for example. Like something like that that's going to impact the game. Um, as much as people might not think that 5 for 50 and a touchdown isn't that impactful, for the Patriots offense, it is. So I'm going to go with Demario Douglas.
I mean, Coach Mayo has said that they need to do a better job of getting the receivers more involved. Um, and I don't know how significant of a change that we'll see one game later,
In a
and
short
how
week, too.
yeah how quick that change will come. But yeah, I can definitely see Douglas if they are going to do that and start getting these receivers much more involved, creating plays, designing plays for them. I think Douglas is the number one candidate to kind of not really pop off, but like be the most successful.
Yeah, like benefit from that, essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be basic. I'm gonna pick Ramondre. Like we've been saying the
Mm.
entire show, the Jets' defense has been surprisingly lackluster, particularly in the interior. Um, and like what the Patriots going to do most of the season, they're just going to run the ball and just look at the other team, say we're running the ball, try and stop us. Like they're going to rely heavily on the ground game um, in order to win games and in order to win the time of possession, keep the clock running. Um, but I mean, and even if like we were saying earlier with the Jets corners and how they're not great tackling corners. I mean, if the Jets close out in the interior, they're still going to have success on outside zone runs if they can get those one-on-one matchups. But I think a good game from Ramondre is really needed if they're going to win tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big game for, I think, the defensive line, or it's like they're gonna have to rely on the defensive line a lot, and they're gonna have to rely on the receivers opening up the game. So I feel like a lot of the game today is gonna be starting from the inside to the outside, if that makes sense. Like the interior players are going to have to make an impact in order for the outside to, really open up the game and help them win. So I completely agree with what you're saying. I just it's gonna be a good game. I'm like I'm like nervous for it just because it's the Jets. I honestly, I'm gonna put this out there. I was thinking about putting out a list at the very end of the season to see, um, because I was gonna personally rank which fan bases on Twitter are the most annoying that I've had to deal with. Um, the Jets fans, dude, they I don't know what's up their butt, but I don't know why they're so annoying on Twitter. Just to put out a quick little preview of my list, I would put the Bengals third right now. Really cool fan base. They were awesome. Seahawks, they were, I don't know, they were on the same wavelength as the Jets too. I don't even know those people. We don't even play them, but they were attacking me right after the loss. The Jets, we haven't even finished playing them, and they're first on my list. So I'm really hoping, for the sake of our Twitter interactions, that the Patriots pull this off. But yeah, I'm expecting a competitive game for sure.
Seahawks fans are still salty about 2014, and probably Malcolm Butler ringing the bell at the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was that
very
was so
aggressively.
funny. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, so with that, I'm gonna now ask you, what is your final score prediction?
So, last week I actually got the score correct, and I actually got the end of the game correct, but it was the opposite. I said the Patriots would win 23-20 on a game-winning field goal, but it was opposite. Obviously, the Seahawks did that, so I'm gonna try to somewhat keep the streak alive. Um, I'm gonna go with a low-scoring game. I think it's gonna be 17-13 Patriots. I think they're going to be able to hold the Jets offense in check. I think they're going to score enough points to, maintain the lead throughout the game. And I'm honestly I'm really really hoping, and I guess you could say I'm just expecting and predicting that they score the first touchdown and then play from with the lead for the rest of the game, so they can run the ball. Um, I'm That's my prediction. I'm gonna go 17-13 Patriots.
All right, I'm gonna do what I did exactly what I did last week and just go against what you said. I'm gonna pick the Jets to win 24-20. I know. I'm sorry, but
The
I'm
the
I'm
Twitter interactions, dude.
I'm really excited about this season. This
Mhm,
team has been so much better than last year, even though they're
mhm.
only 500 or 1-1. But their offense has been so much better. It's been so refreshing. It's just I don't know if they can get it done against Aaron Rodgers tonight.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, like, we haven't spoken much about him other than small ways to stop Aaron Rodgers, but he's gonna make a big difference for this Jets team. I know, he's not like his MVP self, but he's smart enough to win the game for the Jets, if that makes sense. Like, his knowledge, his football IQ alone can destroy this Patriots defense and pretty much throw DeMarcus Covington in a loop. Because I'm not gonna lie, Covington got exposed, embarrassed, whatever. He he did not do well against Ryan Grubb, the Seattle offensive coordinator last week. he they're both rookie coordinators, but Ryan Grubb completely like dismantled whatever DeMarcus Covington did on defense. So um, I think Aaron Rodgers has that same capability to completely ruin the defensive game plan, I guess you could say. Yeah, he's going to be a very, very big factor in this game. So I could see your score prediction happening. Do I want it to happen? No, because like I said, those interactions, I'm not looking forward to them. I'm going to be using that block button a lot tonight if that were to happen. But expect a lot of posts if we do win. So I, yeah, I'm just hoping my score prediction holds strong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping my prediction's wrong as well, but we just gotta wait and see.
Yeah,
Um, but also, I just want to add something really quick before we move on to our final segment. Gerard Mayo just said that Jelani Tavai will be wearing the green dot.
oh wow,
Um,
okay, that's interesting. Okay. I don't know how I feel about that. You go first.
I like it. I mean, Tavai has honestly just been another Bentley. They play very similar, and he's done a really good job playing alongside Bentley. I think I think that's a really good pick for them.
The only reason that I'm like a little bit indifferent about it is that I'll be completely honest. I don't know what experience Jelani Tavai has calling. I wouldn't say calling the plays, but relaying the plays out to the Patriots defense. Um, I know Kyle Duggars, like I said, he's had that responsibility in the past, so kind of his experience, it makes me feel more comfortable with it. I don't know if Jelani
Mhm.
Tavai maybe did that when he was with the Lions. So if that's the case, then sure, go ahead. I trust it, but I'm a little worried about that. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if maybe we see any miscommunications as far as assignments, as far as like what the Patriots defense lines up in. I think that's going to be like a small thing to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, just wanted to add that. This just came
Mhm.
out, and we were talking about that earlier. But moving on to our final segment, just kind of a season outlook. Carlos, win or lose, what's your outlook on the season after this game?
Honestly, win or lose, I'm pretty happy with how it's going. Um, I do think that last week had some showed some gaps in the coaching, and just like pretty much preparation and execute. Honestly, there was a lot of like just mistakes that were kind of like airheaded, boneheaded last week. If
Mhm.
that's if that's the case today, and I really hope not, but if they lose by like 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, it's not going to look good for the rest of the season, in my opinion. That's not going to keep. I'm not going to really have high expectations for this season if that's the case. I already don't have high
Yeah.
expectations as it is, but just the way that they've been able to keep the games close and just be competitive the first 2 games has
Mhm.
me like, I guess you could say it's like an average fan level. Like I'm like not too excited, but I'm not too worried, if that makes sense. Um,
Mhm.
but if they, like I said, if they give up like 3 touchdowns, or if they lose by like 3 touchdowns today, and if they keep making mistakes, if they get blocked field goals, blocked punts, like if they allow those, I mean, um, that's gonna make me not too excited for the rest of the season.
Mhm.
They need to take advantage of this game. Like the Jets look beatable, like without a doubt. So if they can keep that momentum going, beat this team, and then obviously they have the Niners next week. Um, that's a much different, like much scarier matchup. But if they can get the momentum going from this Thursday night win and go into a long little, or I guess you could say a mini bye week, um, that's going to matter a lot for them. Obviously, they have the rest of the season, but I think by the third game of the season, we should have a good idea of how well they're coached, how well they're
Mhm.
prepared, and what their identity truly is. So I think today's game is really, really going to matter.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Especially if they have a really rough outing, there's 100% going to be a part of the media that is going to start saying "Play Drake May, play Drake
Hmm.
May."
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I think they should just play throughout the entirety of the season. Just play whoever gives you the best chance to whoever you feel gives you the best chance to win and build a winning culture
Hmm.
early on in Gerard Mayo's head coaching career. I mean, even if
Hmm.
they finish with like 6, 7 wins, that's improvement for the veterans who
Yeah.
have been there, and that new built up culture the will kind of like will it'll spread to the newer guys who are on multi-year contracts. So spread to the rookies like Drake May. Drake, if even if they win 7 games, Drake May is going to learn how to win a little bit,
Hmm.
and I think that's really important for him. But I mean, I know there's people who were hoping we would tank. I really don't care about where they pick next year right now. Just my mindset is win as many games as possible as you can under Gerard Mayo during his first season. And
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
like figure out what works and doesn't work over the course of the year and revisit that after the season when you start formulating your playbook for next year.
Yeah. If they, like you said, even if they win 6, 7 games, that's improvement. I'd honestly be happy with that. No one even expected them to get that. Vegas doesn't expect them to get that. Like their win over under is 4.5 games. I'm pretty sure they have the lowest in the league. Their 6, 7 wins, I wouldn't be upset about. I think this season in its entirety is just like a culture setter, like an identity, like just to show everyone what their identity is. I know a lot of people's main gripe, I guess you could say, is that they can't attract free agents and everything. If they show that they're competitive, honestly, kind of, I'm not going to compare them to the Lions. I'm not going to say that they're going to be the next Lions, but when Dan Campbell got there, he set a culture, he set the tone. Everyone says like he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. Maybe not like schematically, but just like as a culture guy, a football guy, and people want to go play for the Lions, or people are big fans of the Lions now. Um, if Gerard Mayo can do that this season, who knows? Who knows who they could attract in free agency, and who knows who they can, I guess, trade for and not be told, "Hey, I don't want to play for you," like the Brandon Ayuk situation.
Yeah.
Um, I really do think that a lot can be earned from this season, but a lot can also be lost. Like I know the bar is very low right now, but there is a small chance that they can go even below that bar. So I don't see that happening. I genuinely don't, especially based off these last two games, based off what the locker room vibe is at this very moment. But I think they can definitely earn a lot of recognition, I guess you could say, and just name. I don't want to say bring back the name value of the Patriots because they're not AFC contenders, they're not Super Bowl contenders, but just kind of get back into relevancy slowly but surely because this is a rebuild. They're not going to win the Super Bowl in the first year.
I mean, like you were saying, if they win more games than last year and they start to build a nice culture that is appealing to outside players, more free agents are going to come here, and they're going to get
Exactly.
better that way.
Yep. I completely agree. That's like the best, one of the best outcomes of a honestly average season for the Patriots.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that wraps up our Thursday night football preview. This will be the only Thursday night football preview for the whole season, unless
Only
the
primetime
pastor
game.
flex in somewhere. But um, yeah, Carlos, had a great time talking with you. Had a great time talking with everyone watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it. But we will let you guys know when we will go live next. Yeah, just keep a lookout on Twitter at NetsPGS and at Los Talks Pats for any of those announcements. But yeah.
All right, go Pats.